Hey guys, it's Joe from Finding Faith, and today I want to start a new video series. My other video series are long and they're going to be going on for a while. To be completely honest, I'd be happy if I finished some of my longer ones. I'll put links in the descriptions to each of them. Essentially, I have a series where I respond to this website called evilbible.com and some claims they have in the Gospels that are wrong. I also talk about the Bible verses that I have memorized, and now I have this series. So as you can tell from the title, I want to talk about some false messiahs that people have come to worship. And I'm not talking about, other religions that I believe to be false, such as Islam. I'm talking about people who take Jesus and they make him into something that he's not. It's unfortunately very easy to do because we tend to be very narrow-minded and we don't tend to be very holistic with a lot of things with each other, least of all with the Bible and with God. But it's not our calling. And I want to use this video series as a time where you can really look at some of the false messiahs that the world has taken on and see where they are wrong, but also where the God of the Bible is right. Okay, first up in today's video, I'm going to talk about Boss Jesus. Hopefully you found that image as amusing as I did. Unfortunately, there are people who genuinely think of Jesus like this. And there are so many people who have this image of Jesus as a boss that it becomes all about the works. It becomes all about what you're supposed to do next, doing this, and it gets caught into this cycle. And this cycle is ultimately toxic because it leads to legalism. Legalism is the idea that we need to do all of this stuff in order to be saved. However, on the cross, Jesus very plainly said in John 19:30, "It is finished." So while I fully believe that it is good to be looking at the things that we can do, we also need to be really, making sure that we're not going too far with it. We need to be balanced. We need to remember that God is not formulaic. So biblically and historically, after Jesus' ascension and his apostles started taking on new roles as the new church leaders, basically, there were kind of two main types within the New Testament. Paul went out into Asia and started preaching to the Gentiles, and it was very exciting because, he went on boats, he went for days without food, he's meeting all these foreign people. It's really exciting stuff. But Peter, James, and John, who were basically Jesus' three closest disciples, stayed in Israel. So we have, one guy who's going out into the world and the others who are kind of staying at home. This is not to say that I think we need that same ratio within, today's world, but it is to say that God's calling to Paul was different than his calling towards those other apostles, towards Peter, James, and John. And if you remember, Jesus had 12 disciples. So there's another 8 because of the fall of Judas that we don't really hear about in the New Testament. Obviously they were doing important stuff. History tells us that the other 8 all ended up dying for their faith, basically. But they had very different kinds of ministries. Some of them I don't know enough about, so they may have just gotten back to their ordinary lives, but still lived knowing who Jesus was and is. And that's because their calling was different from even that of Peter, James, and John. Definitely different from Paul. So if you read the Bible and your takeaway is that you have to do certain things, then I would suggest that you reread it a little bit. And if someone's pressuring you into doing all this stuff, I would really just encourage you to say some of the stuff that I've said in a loving way, of course. Because we all have very unique ministries that sometimes take some real time to have fruit, that take, effort to live out. And sometimes we need to go on a bit of a journey to discover what our ministries are. It's okay to have wants and desires, but there are things you need to pray to God about. If it's meant to be, then God will make it happen, basically. So remember, just put your faith and your trust in Jesus and know that what Jesus has in store for you is different than what he has in store for someone else, and that it's not all about what you can and should be doing. It is about Jesus and his sacrifice. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll try and get part 2 out in the coming weeks. Please remember to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to comment, like, share my videos. Have a blessed day or blessed night, and thanks again for watching.